Hello, David Newman. Welcome to the DoingCXRight show.
Thank you, Stacy. It's great to be here.
I have to admit, I've been diving into, I was going to say stalking, but I don't like that word. I've been diving into your content, and you have such great information, but humor too. I'm sure you've been told that before, that you're funny and yet really smart at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I always believe that if you're not having fun, you're probably not doing it right.
Ooh, we'll have to tap into that.
Yes.
Well, before we get started, please share with my audience, who are you, David? What do you do for a living?
Sure. So I have two companies. The older company is called Do It Marketing, and that is a coaching and training company for professional services firms. And because people really don't like sales and selling, we started a second venture called Appointment Agency, and that is specific to cybersecurity firms. And it is initial sales meetings, winning initial sales meetings on behalf of cybersecurity consulting firms. So one is sort of a teaching and coaching and done with you. And then the second company is really a done for you kind of service.
Mm. Now, what made you focus a career in sales where people, as you say, would rather get a root canal than spend another minute pitching and peddling stuff?
Yes. Well, so I used to be that guy that I came out of a 10-year corporate consulting career where I had a big company behind me, but I was doing consulting and training and facilitation in the HR and management consulting, and then also in technology consulting. And then January of 2002, I went out on my own thinking, well, gosh, Stacy, how hard can this be? I know about consulting. I know about training. I know about speaking. Well, I found out how hard it can be because, as you well know, when you're on your own, it's no longer about doing the work. It's about getting the work. And I was clueless. I mean, I was so lost. I was bumping into every brick wall, every dead end. I like to say that I made every mistake in the book and I made the good ones twice. So not knowing how to prospect, not deciding on a niche, having no idea about positioning or packaging or specialization. And that literally caused me about 3 years of lean, 3 years of lean times until I started to figure out this marketing and sales thing. And I figured it out for myself. And then I realized, well, wait a minute. There's a lot of other people like me who run professional services firms, consulting, coaching, training, and they don't know how to sell either. And they don't get it and they don't like it. And so they don't do it. And so there's a lot of struggle in that small to mid-market professional services industry where they're great at doing the work, but the problem is they're over-reliant on word of mouth. They're over-reliant on referrals. They're over-reliant on inbound marketing, build it and they will come. And they don't really have proactive control of their trajectory, their revenue, who's a client, who's not a client. So they end up getting distracted and getting pulled into all kinds of clients and all kinds of deals that are not optimal because they're just willing to take what comes. And my belief as far as sales and selling is target what you want, and you can always take what comes. But target what you want is the proactive part of business development, going after the clients that you want. And when I say going after the clients, let me clarify that because I know that part of the customer journey, of course, is the whole buying experience. This is not adversarial selling. This is not, you're my target and I've got a gun and I'm going to put you in my sights and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shoot you. This is about connecting with the right people, doing enough invitation to a conversation about how you can help and serve them. All of that comes before any sort of transactional conversation. all of that comes before pitching your products and programs and services. I truly believe that the current state and the future state of sales and selling is going to be focus on helping before pitching and focus on serving before selling, so that you actually earn the right to have a commercial conversation with someone that you're already in a relationship with.
Earn the right. We'll have to come back to that statement. Speaking of connection, I want to go to the connection of you, David, to your younger self.
Yes.
What would you tell the younger you based on what you know now that you didn't know then?
Dude, you got to learn how to sell. You got to learn how to sell in a way that is easy, effortless, enjoyable, and fun. So, my friend Brian Kramer wrote a fantastic book about 10 years ago called Human to Human, H to H. And Brian's philosophy, because in sales and in customer experience and all kinds of things, we usually separate B2B, right? What's a B2B sale? What's a B2B customer experience journey versus B2C? And they say, oh, it's completely different. And all the steps and all the psychology and all the everything is different. And Brian's stance is really it's not. Because no matter what we're selling, no matter who we're serving, we're always dealing with people. We're always dealing with emotional creatures. We're always dealing with people who have an ego. We're always dealing with people who have feelings. And the sales process, which is usually the beginning of the more intimate part of the relationship, is once they're talking to someone who's in a position to serve them and to offer them some potential products and services, that's where the human to human rubber meets the road. So I think it's really important to humanize the sales process and not look at it like a numbers game. That's one of the things that makes me absolutely nuts. When people talk about prospecting or lead generation, they'll say, well, Stacy, it's really a numbers game. It is not a numbers game. Never was, never will be. It is a relationship game. It is a relevance game. It is a value game. It is not a numbers game. So don't get me started on that, although I think we just sort of did. But yeah, not a numbers game.
Yeah.
Sales is not a numbers game. Prospecting, lead generation, also not a numbers game. Ideally, it should be a bespoke, highly targeted, highly curated, highly selective process of inviting the right people to a conversation about how you can help them. If you reframe sales as that one sentence, I think you'll no longer be sales averse. You'll no longer be sales phobic. And sales won't be this big, scary mystery that only bad people do.
Now, let's peel this onion back a little. You shared a lot around sales and the role and the myths and the perceptions around it. When I talk about doing customer experience right, what does that mean to you in a broader sense and the connection to sales?
Well, I think doing customer experience right is understanding that every customer, every client, every relationship you have is unique and human. And it needs to be personalized. It needs to be customized. It needs to be tailored. People say, let's say they have 3 children. And they say, well, I treat all my kids the same. Someone who says, I treat all my kids the same is a pretty terrible parent, because you do not want to treat all your kids the same, right? You want to treat kid number 1 in a way that nurtures an environment where kid number 1, with their personality, their preferences, their skills, their strengths, can flourish and do well and fulfill their potential. And it's the same thing with kid number 2. It's the same thing with kid number 3. So just like as a parent, you really wouldn't treat, quote unquote, all your kids the same. Why are we treating all of our clients the same? Why are we treating all of our prospects the same? Why are we treating all of our leads the same? And I think that's the big challenge right now in this age of AI, is everything can be automated. Everything can be templatized. Everything that you used to be able to do in tens and hundreds, you can now do in tens of thousands and millions. And it just propagates this concept of batch and blast, generic, same-o, lame-o sales messaging that if everyone can respond to it, nobody's going to respond to it because it lacks that level of personalization, customization, and tailoring. Those three words to me is doing customer experience right.
Now, why do you think companies are not applying that? What's getting in the way?
I think it's short-sightedness. I think it's greed. I think it's efficiency. I think it is, again, all those things are perceived, right? Perceived efficiency. It's easier to batch and blast a whole bunch of ads out there. It's easier to spray and pray our email list. It's easier to put a cookie cutter offer or coupon or template out there and just see who responds. This whole concept of personalization when it comes to the whole marketing and sales process, totally not new. Totally not new. But it's been buried for a long, long time. And now in the age of AI and hyper automation, it's really been buried. So it's basically hiding at the bottom of a mountain or it's hiding under a mountain. But I think in this age of hyper automation and AI can do every mundane task you can think of, it's the companies that really invest in tailoring and customization and personalization. Because again, it's a relationship. There's no such thing as a generic relationship. Every relationship is customized, personalized, and tailored to who that person is, who that prospect is, what size company they're in, what's the context of their work environment, what content would be valuable to them in making a buying decision. And I'll just land this question on this one little twist. A lot of people that think they're in sales, if the mindset is I'm in sales, they're going to miss a lot of the subtlety and nuance that's required if we shift that into buying facilitation. So facilitate the buying process and the buying psychology that particular prospect already has. Tap into their buying process and you will sell a lot more. Similarly, when you start treating prospects like clients and serve them and help them as if they're already paying you money, the more that you treat prospects like clients, the more clients you will get.
Now, you've said clients, we talk about customers, obviously relationships all at play, customer success. What, in your opinion, is the difference between these terms? Is there a difference?
Between a client and a customer?
Client and customer success
Yeah.
are all different coins of this, the same thing but different. What
Sure.
comes to your mind? Because I think there's some confusion around the terminology.
Sure, totally. Well, so typically a client will consume a service and a customer will consume a product. So, Procter & Gamble doesn't have clients. Procter & Gamble has customers. A professional services firm, a boutique consulting firm doesn't have customers. They have clients because boutique professional services firm sells services. As far as customer success / client success, typically if you're selling a product, especially like a software product, a SaaS product, a digital, software type of product, you want to make sure that people are, number one, utilizing the product, utilizing it the right way, getting the right results, and having a continuous feedback loop about upgrades and updates and missing features and how could it be better? How could it be smarter? How could it be stronger? Whereas client success, when someone's consuming a service and you're making sure they're getting good results from the service, I think that's a little bit more intimate. So that is a little bit more around, there's a coaching component to that. There's a training. component to that. Like, oh, I didn't know that was available. Oh, I didn't know that we could leverage, this person or this level of assistance or this kind of program. And there's also a little bit of a therapist slash minister slash rabbi slash imam, whatever religious component, because there's a lot more hand holding. There's a lot more, motivating and caretaking to make sure that that person or that client is genuinely better off with your service than without. So I think that's for my, as a layperson in the world of customer experience, that would be my difference between those couple terms.
Yeah. Perfect. And I want also people to understand from my perspective that customer service and customer experience are not the same.
Oh, for sure.
Customer experience across the entire journey, how you learn, buy, get, use, pay, get help. And customer service is that get help. And too often people use the term interchangeably, and I'm going around the world saying, no, don't do that. So it reminds me a little bit of what you were talking about in the sales arena.
Yeah.
Now, your book and your teaching about do it, and there's self-serving way to doing it. What is your advice for people who want to boost income? They want to create a bigger impact. They're not really sure what to go do. What do you suggest?
Yes. Well, I think the first step is clarity and focus and really defining two things, macro level, and we can dig more into this. But the two macro level things are who are the exact people that you want to serve. And by people, I mean companies, projects, etc. But who are the exact people you want to serve? Because a person is going to buy your service or program. It's not a company. It's not a brand. It is a person. It's an economic buyer. So who is that person very specifically? And for that person, question number 2, exactly what problem are you solving for them? So David Ogilvy, the great advertising master from the 1960s and 70s, one of his quotes, that's one of my favorite quotes when it comes to this, is if you're going to sell fire extinguishers, you first have to show the fire. So don't get into all the specs and all the tech that your amazing fire extinguisher is the state-of-the-art fire extinguisher and it's so amazing and so powerful. Let's talk about your house burning down. Let's talk about losing all your worldly possessions. Let's talk about having to rescue Fido, the puppy, out of the second floor bedroom. And the puppy is in the arms of the fireman coming down the ladder and rescuing this little puppy from this horrible fire. So when I say exactly what people do you want to serve and exactly what problem are you solving for them, we are talking about buyer persona research. We are talking about industry specific. We are talking about position specific. So I'll use appointment agency as an example. This is very, very specific. It is the owner, our client is the owner of a cybersecurity consulting firm. The problem that we're solving for them is they don't like sales. They don't do enough sales, or they're trapped in founder-led sales, meaning that everything is dependent on them. They can never take a vacation. They can never take a break. Everything is dependent on them. They stop selling, the firm stops making money. So how to install a prospecting and proactive lead generation system in that cybersecurity firm, that is exactly the person that we're helping, and that is exactly the problem that we're solving. Now, I say that as if it's easy, elementary, everyone should do that on day one. I will be brutally honest, that took me 20 years. That took me 20 years to figure out, not just to figure it out intellectually, but to have the decisiveness and the bravery to say who you are and who you're not, and who you are for and who you are not for. Because most entrepreneurial companies, they say, hey, anybody with any warm body with a check is a good client. Come on in. We have something for everyone at almost any price point. And that is a guaranteed path to commoditize what you do and to totally blend into irrelevance. Because if you're marketing kind of the spray and pray, everything for everyone, no one is going to resonate with that message. No one is going to go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we want, exactly what we need. The soundbite on this one is there's no such thing as a generic service or program. There is no such thing as a generic solution because every single client has a unique and specialized problem. So when we show up as the generalist, instead of the specialist, we're actually leaving money on the table. We think it's the other way, right? We think, oh my God, if I just specialize in solving this one type of problem for this one type of company, I'm leaving a ton of money on the table because what if other companies come in? Let me go back to the guiding principle, target what you want. You can always take what comes. But a lot of people are not brave enough or decisive enough to target exactly what they want. What kind of client, what kind of buyer, what kind of project, what kind of fee level.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, then you're letting the marketplace decide all those things for you. And it is random and it is exhausting and you end up getting kind of burned out.
In addition to that, I also can't stress enough the importance of communication from sales and all parts of the organization. And a lot of times I've seen that sales will communicate and offer something to the client they're trying to lure them in. And then the customer service team never got that information, which marketing might have a play in that. And so now the customer says, well, I thought about what the salesperson offered me. I want to buy. Can you help me? Because I can't seem to buy online. I'm stuck. And then the rep says, I'm sorry, I really don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that is the most frustrating experience that's avoidable. So I want people to realize that the communication and designing that customer journey, that client journey where every stakeholder is saying the same thing, the consistency, it's just, if that doesn't happen, you won't get the sale or they'll leave and break their contracts.
Yes. I think this is where the enemy of the communication that you're talking about, Stacy, it's got a number of enemies. Politics, silos, egos, all kinds of BS and behind the scenes nonsense that is preventing the different parts of a company, number one, from communicating, but even more so from collaborating. So I think the big monster under the bed, the phrase that you never want to hear from anyone in marketing or sales or customer experience is, that's not my job. That's not my department. I don't know about that. Sorry, right? That's above my pay grade. Whatever little joke or deflection they make, that is the sign of a company suffering from silos, politics, BS, nonsense, right? And so they're not communicating and they're not collaborating. Everyone owns, in my opinion, again, as an amateur in this world of customer experience, everyone owns the customer experience. I don't care if you're in billing. I don't care if you're in accounting. I don't care if you're working on the warehouse floor. I don't care if you're driving a truck for this company. One bad interaction with any entity that is bearing your logo is going to have a negative experience. It's going to have a negative impact on your customer experience. So I think building, and this is where you're so great at sharing this with your clients, it's really about building a culture of customer experience and making sure that even the weakest link is as strong as it possibly can be.
You summed up everything I do.
There
I
you go.
literally go around the company that, especially the ones I've worked at for over 25 years, I'd go to every department and say, you have a CX job. You have a CX job. You finance, you have a CX
Yeah.
job. And they're like, no, I don't. I said, okay, we need to sit down and let me explain to you. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you just wrapped it up in a ribbon. Well, we're rapid fire about to close here. I want to ask you two final questions, which is one, what is your key takeaway you want people to remember from our conversation?
Oh, so good. Thank you for asking. Think of sales as your first moment of client delivery or customer delivery. So, in other words, imagine they're already in, they've already bought, and that's how you treat your prospects. And then the sales pressure goes down for them, the sales pressure goes down for you. And I mentioned earlier the soundbite that the more you treat prospects like clients, the more clients you will get.
That is gold. Write that down, everybody. Listen to this twice. Just absorb it and do it. And finally, leadership. We know that there's no customer experience without really good leadership from the inside. What is the best leadership advice you've received, David, or given to others?
Yeah, the best leadership advice I've ever received was from a manager that I really respected quite a lot. He said, the key to having fantastic results is to praise your team publicly, specifically, and often. Praise your team publicly, specifically, and often. And every leadership role that I've ever had since then, that's been my mantra.
Mm. I agree with you. One small little debate, which we don't have a lot of time for. However, one boss told me that they don't like public praise. They would rather it be more private one-on-one, which I thought was very interesting. So perhaps we as leaders have to know the personality type of the people that we are with, because that was an eye-opener to me.
That some people, you're saying some people don't like to be praised in public. It makes them feel awkward?
Yes.
Yes, totally agree. So going back to my earlier three magic words, personalize,
Yes.
customize, tailor, just like you would with a customer, personalize, customize, and tailor towards your team as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for all the gems you shared. And in the show notes, I encourage listeners to view all of David's social media, his website, his books, all the magical things he's doing to help you in selling right and doing CX right for better outcomes. Thank you so much, David, for being here.
Thank you, Stacy, so much.